Hi, and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. I apologize for being a little late signing on. I was mixed up. I thought Michael was going to call in. He's out on an errand to pick up some stuff for the intensive. And so that's my error that I didn't call in as host. But welcome to the show. We're glad that you're here. Our call-in number is 646-200. 4169 and press 1. That puts you in queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your questions and your comments, and we welcome you to the show. And our purpose here is to offer support, not only for those who are doing support groups doing this work, but anybody and everybody on the planet that wants to take their work to a new level and do forgiveness work. And forgiveness is not letting another person off the hook for what they bring up in you, but forgiveness is going inside and looking at what doesn't belong in your field. Anger, fear, hostility, grief, pain, any of those things, and how to remove it. And so that's what we're about. When we remove the wars within ourselves, we'll remove the war that's on the planet. I already have a caller this morning, so area code 941. You're on the air. Who do I have?
It's Lynn.
Hi, Lynn. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. What can we do for you today, or do you have a comment or a question?
Well, yes. I just needed help filling out the forgiveness form.
Okay.
Keep choosing the wrong men, and I'm afraid of making the same mistake again, so consequently, I say I want a relationship, and I fight myself against it. So I didn't know whether to use trust or what.
Okay, so what I would do is, do you have a worksheet in front of you?
I do. Uh-huh.
Okay, so what I would suggest is to start with is take one situation, like, so your object of attention, pick one of the men and put their name in there.
Okay.
As your trigger, and put your initials in there where the parentheses and the little dots are, because it's always about you.
Okay.
And so what I would suggest is doing the worksheet. This is what I call backing into a worksheet. So your goal is that you want what? The relationship, a perfect relationship.
Yes.
And so you put that in as your goal for number 3. All right, so then you're going to back up and you're going to look at a situation where you had a relationship that was not so perfect. And so write down just one descriptor of an incident where it was not so perfect. And breathe and put down, that would be up there under number 1A. So we're kind of jumping around here. So then 1B is what's your perception. So then you would fill out just one example of an incident with that person, whoever you wrote in 1A, where your relationship was not so perfect.
Okay.
You know, whether it's an argument that you had or whatever.
Uh-huh, got it.
All right, and then in C, and like I said, we're skipping through this pretty quickly here. You can go back. There's also MP3s on our website where Michael has walked people step by step through doing worksheets. And so you can go back and listen to those, and they'll kind of guide you and help you to be able to better understand how to do the worksheet in more detail.
Okay,
so
great.
In number C, it talks about what does that cause you to feel. Your mind tells you that it's the cause, but actually it's because that feeling is already inside of you, and this situation has just triggered it and brought it up for you. So what was the feeling that you felt when this, whatever you wrote in 1B, when that happened, what did you feel?
Fear, basically.
Okay, so you would write fear in for the feeling, and then what's the thought behind that fear? That's going to be in 1D.
Okay, got it.
So what thought is behind your feeling of fear when your relationship doesn't go so perfect?
Probably 2 things. His rage comes up, but then
okay, so that's actually going to be
I didn't
a
speak up myself, you know, or tell them to stop it or something of that nature.
Do you have 2 worksheets there in front of you by chance?
Let me see.
So, because you've actually got 2 different feelings, and you will delve into totally different aspects of your own mind with each feeling. So this is what Michael refers to as the hydro effect. You start doing one worksheet and it just keeps growing. So we always have several worksheets with us, and then as we're doing one, when something else pops up, you can just fill in that part of it on another worksheet and then go back to your original worksheet. And then whenever you have an opportunity, then you can do the second worksheet. So you've got 2 worksheets there. So you've got 2 different feelings. In this one, we're doing fear. In your other worksheet, write down anger. All right, so those are both feelings. Now, what was the thought again that you said?
That I didn't speak up for myself.
Okay, do you think that goes more with the anger?
Yes.
The thought behind the anger? Okay, so what would be the thought behind the fear?
I think I froze.
Okay, but what's the thought? Why were you afraid when the relationship took a bad turn, or when the incident happened?
For my physical.
Okay, so you were physically afraid.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so then the thought behind that fear would be, he's going to hurt me or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, and then the thought behind your anger one on that worksheet is the part where I didn't speak up. So you've got different thoughts behind different feelings, which will go into something different within you. I see Michael's now with us on the phone, so hi, Michael. Maybe he's not. I've got him turned on, but we don't hear him.
Actually, I'm here, yes.
Okay.
And I think you're right on track all the way. The only question to ask is, have you been breathing when we're talking about all of this?
Oh, Lynn, have you been breathing?
I'm breathing. Yes.
Michael, it's a little bit loud on your end, so I'm going to put you back on mute for a moment.
Okay.
All right. So you'll notice throughout the worksheet that it often says to breathe.
Yeah.
And it's the way that we can deny and not look at something is we hold their breath. So if you take a deep breath and go into, okay, what was that feeling? What was that thought? And you breathe, it actually helps you to access where you've denied it. And so then you would move down to E, I want to punish them by. So in this one situation with this person that you wrote in number 1A, how do you want to punish them? And breathe.
Yeah. I think I'm past wanting to punish them, but I'm choosing the same relationships. So I know I'm not. Yeah.
All right. So punishment can look like I'm not going to talk to them, or I'm going to remove myself from their presence. It could be I'd like to tell them off. I would like to scream at them. So punishment can take a lot of different aspects, but, we run into a lot of people that say, oh, I don't want to punish them. And there's a little part of you, I think, that's in denial there, because there's 99.9% of the time anyway, there's some kind of punishment in there, even if it's I'm going to avoid them. And avoidance or separation is, if you think of when people are in prison, one of the worst punishments they do is put them in solitaire. Because if you remove people away from other human contact, that's one of the worst punishments you can do. So when you remove yourself from another person, you remove the being that you are from them and say, I'm not dealing with them, I'm not going to, and we do that to ourselves too, was like, I'm just going to ignore this, I'm not going to look at it, and that's an avoidance, and that's punishment to ourselves as well.
Okay, that's what I think, yes, it would be appropriate avoidance.
Okay. And then you go down to number 2, I choose to love truth and willingly face and process out all disease-producing energies for and from all my relations or generations. A lot of this is generational. If you go back and look at some other women in your family, whether it's your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your aunt, or whatever, I bet there are other women or even men who have found themselves in an abusive relationship. It's some things are genetically passed down until someone steps up and says, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to work with it. So you were talking about you keep finding yourself, same person, different face. And so what happens is there is a part of you, and it sounds like it could be fear and it could be anger, a mixture of those two, but normally the fear in one person draws in another person who is angry. And you play off of each other because the things like that we hold within us that don't belong actually become our physical disease. And life doesn't want us to destroy ourselves. And so we get, the universe, God, life, creator, whatever you want to call it, will bring to you whoever and whatever you need to bring that up so that you can heal it and remove it from your being. So if fear is your issue that's actually killing you physically, you're going to draw to you the same person, different face, who's going to be abusive or angry or whatever, to bring your fear up, to give you the opportunity to get rid of it so you can heal. Once you heal that part of you, you will start drawing in different people. Your situation outside will change. Now, it's kind of like I use the example of playing tug of rope or tug of war. And if you and I are playing and we each have an end of the rope and we're pulling back and forth, and I decide I want to quit and I drop my end of the rope, your game's going to change whether you want it to or not. And so when you get rid of the fear within you, you will quit drawing scary situations into your space, people that are angry or whatever, to bring that fear up. Now, what will happen is they may still come along and do the same action, but because you don't have that fear in you, you're like an observer. You might look at them and go, it looks like you've got an issue going on here. Can I help you? And you won't have that fear. And then what will happen is they'll either stop doing that action because they're not getting that same feedback from you, because they need somebody to bring up their anger in order for them to heal their anger, because that's their disease. And they'll have to go somewhere else to find someone else to resonate that anger. Or, they may change too and say, hey, I like what you're doing, and, I'd like to learn how to do this too. Michael always says there's, one of four things will happen when you start doing your work and you start clearing out the energies from your being that don't belong. Anybody you're in relationship with, and, we have all kinds of relationships. We have significant others. We have parents. We have siblings. We have children. We have teachers, coworkers. We're in relationship with the person in the mirror. And so what happens when you start doing your work is the other person that you're in relationship with will either say, I really like whatever it is you're doing, and I want to learn how to do it. I want it too. Or they'll say, I like what you're doing. It looks good on you. I support you doing it. I don't want it, but, it's okay. I support you in keeping on doing it. Or number three, they'll really be ticked off, and they'll crank up the heat to try to get you back the way you were, because when you are doing your work and removing the energies that are controlling you, then you step back into your power, and you're not controllable. And they won't like that, so they want to kick the heat up to get you back the way you were so that you can be controlled. Or they'll say, there's no resonance here, I'm gone, and they'll leave. So you can expect when you're doing your work and you're removing the things from within you that don't belong, that in all of your relationships, one of those four things could happen.
Okay.
And so being willing to face that and go through that, sometimes, that can bring up a little fear in itself, and being willing to work through that.
So now work through it.
It means it takes time. Like you've probably been years and years developing this fear that you have.
Yes.
And so one worksheet's probably not going to get rid of it. It could, but, I've got several issues. Actually, we're in an intensive here at Heartland right now, and fear is actually something that I myself am working through. And, some of it's, like I said, generational, and it's been there for a long time, and, it just takes time to work through it. So being willing, it's kind of like they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And So just being willing, to keep doing your work and doing your process, and you'll see slight changes. You might see one that's, just real in your face, like, that's different. But, like the same situation might happen, and you'll catch yourself that you don't have that same reaction. And you'll be like, it's working. There was actually one time, one of the issues I've worked on for a long time myself was not feeling like I was worthy of being listened to. And we were doing a workshop. It was an all-day workshop. People had been there all day. We'd been processing, different people sharing and talking what they were feeling and what they were working through. And I offered some feedback to this gentleman. And then a little bit later, we took an intermission for lunch. And this girl in the room came up, and she said, "Can I talk to you a minute?" And so we went into another room. And she said, "Did you notice when you were giving that guy feedback, he didn't even look at you?" Now, normally that would have been right up the alley to set off my, see, I'm not worthy of being listened to. But I hadn't even noticed that he wasn't looking at me.
Okay.
And so when she offered that to me, it was like, this is awesome. And she was like, "What?" And I'm like, I've been doing work on this, that I wasn't worth being listened to. And apparently I've gotten through it. There wasn't a certain time when I was like, okay, I know I'm done with it. But when she offered me that feedback, then it let me know, because I had no reaction to him not paying attention to me. It was like, okay. And I was just going through, doing what I needed to do and offering the information I needed to offer. And what he did with it was totally up to him. And so I had no emotional reaction to him not listening to me. But then I turned around and offered to help her do a worksheet, because apparently it brought up a lot of stuff for her that he wasn't listening to me. And so I was able to work with her then in, what is it about you that you have that, and it was an issue that women were less than or whatever. So, there might not be just a particular instant in time when you go, I know I'm done with it, but then something will happen to show you, and you'll go, where was that old reaction? It's gone. And then you'll know that you're done with that part of it. But, just like this one worksheet, just in starting out, you've already now got 2 worksheets. And so there also could be other places, like you might start out, and here again, this is like backing into it. You might put, under the feeling part, fear, and think of other situations, maybe not necessarily having to do with another person, where you've had fear. Because you might have fear in being with a person that you think is going to physically hurt you. You might have fear in going to a new job. You might have fear in moving across town. So there's different aspects of fear. Mm-hmm. And so you might do different worksheets, all with fear being the feeling, and then back into it and pick different situations where an incident happened that you experienced fear. In 1A, it could be that situation. It might be another person, or it even might be yourself. And, then if you put yourself in there and your perception is, I'm not making good decisions, and I'm afraid. Why? What's my thought behind that? That, I'm, sabotaging myself. And so each thought and each feeling and each incident you can work through, and you'll get to a different part of your unconscious. In each one of them, though, when you get down to number 3, you need to be specific of the goal that you wanted in that situation with that person.
Okay.
Like you wouldn't want to be real general and say, I just want life to be good, or I want to have a good relationship. You want a specific goal. So like in this one that you just started with that person, what did I want from them? I wanted him to treat me gently and lovingly. I wanted him to respect me. I wanted to feel safe with him. So it could be a number of things. But you want to be specific with the goal you hold in each one of those worksheets.
Okay. And where I put avoidance for punishment, but
right.
I'm finding that, with the other people, that's what I've done too. I've just left, but that doesn't solve it. But eventually, if I keep going through this on the worksheets, it'll come to the point where I realize, right?
Yes, and you'll get to the point where you can stay. It's like, okay, I really want, my what we call carbon-based memory, which we're made out of carbon, this human body that the temple that we dwell in. has a tendency to want to leave. And that is a big issue all across the planet. I mean, even when you consider people dying, not just suicides, but people dying, it's like choosing to check out. A lot of people that have like Alzheimer's or go catatonic or, go into such a deep depression that they're in some kind of an asylum or something, those are ways of checking out because life seems too hard to deal with. And so being able to access and say, okay, I've got some goals here, but I'm willing to let them go. And so you'll find that instead of wanting to run away, wanting to leave, wanting to check out, that you find yourself more willing to stay there and go through it.
Okay.
So you'll see subtle changes like that. David, I see you're on with me. Are you able to speak? I'm not sure if he's down in class or something, but if you are, do you have anything to offer, Lynn? He must not be where he can talk either.
Yes.
So, okay.
This has been helpful, though. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so, like I said, go to the website, whyagain.com, and over where it says download worksheets, you'll see there are like 6 or 7 MP3s of radio shows where we have walked people through, and it'll take you in a little more detail of each of the steps. We kind of flipped through it pretty quickly. And then call back in and let us know how it goes. Let us know, if you get stuck on it, if you have more questions. We'd love to hear from you. We have several people that call in almost daily. And so you're more than welcome to call back in anytime. We'll be glad to walk you through any part that you don't understand.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate you calling in.
Okay.
Bye. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, and that puts you in queue to talk to us. We would love to hear your comments and your questions. There's nobody got their hand up on the switchboard and no conversation going on in the chat room right now. So unless you call in with a question, I will just talk about what's going on here. And David, anytime if you're where you can pop in, I've got you turned on so you can hop in there and talk as well. We have an intensive going on. This is our last 9 days here at Heartland for this year. We will be scheduling next year, probably 2 weeks after the 4th of July. But watch our website, and you'll be able to see our schedule. We're planning on 65 days next year. This year we only did a 10-day food fund forgiveness and work where people came and learned food with their Chef Ari, and then they did work projects on the property, and then they had workshops in the evening, full days. Then we went into a 9-day, why is this happening to me again? We had 30 people, and it was awesome high energy, and I believe there's 3 of them coming back tonight, which means we'll end up with about 26 of the 30 people that are staying for the next 9 days, and then we had 4 new people come in. So it's really exciting. We're doing teachers training for this 9 days. The energy is really high and a lot of processing going on, and processing is where love can be held active and conscious in the space while somebody else processes something that's less than love, and it comes up. And there have been some phenomenal stuff come up during the past 20 days, I guess. It's just been a continual, but we have 4 gentlemen that are combat veterans, and they have really been processing some energy that they've held in their tissue, held in their minds, held in their beings that has definitely not been to their highest and best. And that, by them being able to process through and other people in the room holding the space, and then we've had women with fear. Fear seems to be the general theme for this 9 days. So it's been very, very powerful. David, are you on there? I guess not. So if anybody has any questions, 646-200-4169. Love to hear your comments and your questions. We do have a new website that's going to be coming live in a few weeks. It's kind of been put on hold because the 2 people who are helping to design it, Danielle and Susan, they're here during the 9-day why and the 9-day teachers training. And then, of course, I've been sidetracked with the same and working in the kitchen as well as the class time. So as soon as all of this is over, we will all be getting back to the task. But you can go out to Why Again. That's WHYAGAIN.org instead of .com. We're going to keep them both alive for a while, and then eventually .org will take over. But .org has got blogs. It has chat space. It's going to have a place where different people who are facilitators of their own support groups will be able to have their own pages and be able to list out there what's going on for them and announcements and things like that for their groups. So it's got a lot more. The catalog is a whole lot better. We've got pictures of the product instead of just descriptions of it. However, when you go out to .org right now, you're going to find a lot of the links aren't connected yet. And so just be patient with us. It takes time. We have over 5,000 pages that we're having to switch over, and we're actually having to copy them over and then turn the links live. So it's going to take us a while to get all of that up and running. And so, but you can go out and play around with it and look and see how much different it is, how awesome it is. And so we invite you to go out and look at that. And then after we've had a chance to get back on it, we appreciate your income back. You know, if you find something that's not working, give us a little time, though, to get back up there because, like I said, right now about half the links are not working. But after it gets up, please let us know. If you come across something and it takes you to an empty space or something's wrong, you know, send us an email and let us know so that we know to correct it. Also, because we have been so busy on the Mindshifter Radio archives, I've been kind of lax. I've listed the links so that you can go and listen to them, but I have not put a summary of what each one is about. So if you've listened to one of the archive shows, kind of take a brief note, you know, only like, you know, 2 or 3 sentences or something that kind of gives the general synopsis of what that day's show was about, and email it to me. That would help me tremendously, and that way I can get some information out there. It makes it a little easier for people to find the show to be able to listen to if it kind of has a summary to it. And my email is Jeanie, Jeanie, @whyagain.com. So you can email me that, and that would help tremendously. That would be supporting our work from the outside, and we would definitely appreciate it. Well, David has disappeared off the switchboard. I'm not sure if Michael's coming back on or not, but our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue. We'd love to hear from you. We will be traveling when we leave here after the intensive. Michael and I will be heading up to Canada. He has a family reunion, and we're going to spend some time with his family. We haven't been up there in a couple, 2-3 years. So we're going to be going up that way, and then we're going to be heading west. So if you're listening and you live somewhere out west and you have a venue for us, drop us a line, let us know, and we'll see if we can work it into the schedule. Our travel workshops are free. We pay our own expenses. And, you know, all we need is a venue and a group of people. So if you can gather some people together and you have a place where we can meet, give us a call. And if we can fit it in with our tour, then we'll add you to it. And we'd love to come to your city. Well, since nobody's calling in, nobody has their hand up, and Michael's not back on yet, I'm going to go out and read something that when I first started doing this work, I didn't know anything about this work when I met Michael. And we dated for about 3 months before I ever attended my first workshop. And so I was kind of in the you know, okay, what am I doing here, and what do I believe, and all of this. And so this is actually on the website, and I titled it Jeanie's Revelation. And so I'm just going to read it. And if you have a question or something, please do call in, and we'll switch back over, change topics again. So I don't remember exactly when I wrote this, but it must have been back in 2004 because it describes my hesitance to step into true purpose and the revelation that was given to me by the Creator one afternoon. So here's what I wrote. I savor the magnificence of creation. I wonder how many people truly see what is right before them. I sit on a rock overlooking South Holston Lake in the mountains of East Tennessee. Actually, I'm sitting on top of a dam. I'm sitting here with my legs crossed Indian style in anticipation of some enlightening vision or insight. The sun is shining warmly on my back, casting my own shadow over the paper that's in my lap. The gentle breeze moves my hair across my forehead as if smoothing away any previous signs of skepticism. With pen in hand, I only hesitate. I came here to write, to deliberately capture my innermost thoughts or guidance. It's about 7 p.m. The sun will be setting soon, which will require me to leave this place. It's a shame that someone else can control when one can come and when one cannot freely enjoy creation here. There are people jogging down the path behind me. There are boats of laughing young people zipping by. There are cars cruising the road that crosses the dam itself. And yet, for the next few moments, I am lost in the essence of my setting, and these distractions dim into my unconsciousness. I'm strongly aware of the true harmony present in my being, such peace. Yes, the dam is a grand, man-made construction, but the sights that I behold and what I experience only God could have accomplished. The water is gently stirred, and it moves toward the shoreline. If I listen, what sounds I hear? The water laps against the rocks at the base of the dam. There's a family of ducks clucking as they circle near the edge. Birds fly by, and the chirping from a tree nearby tells me that the nest is full of life. A bee buzzes toward a cluster of wildflowers that are emerging between the rocks. How did that seed find dirt enough to take root in that place? I see a fish swim away, followed by the splash that announced its presence. The leaves of the trees make a refreshing rustling sound. While gazing across the lake, I acquire the subtle awareness of the air taking on a slight chill as the sun sinks lower in the sky. The energy shifts into a different power. The heavenly skies, which were crystal blue with swirling white clouds just moments ago, are turning into a slate-colored expanse. The mountains on the far side remain dark green, but now with black shadows intermingling the sea. The change to the lake is phenomenal. A fog rises above the water's surface, giving it a mystical appearance. The tall grasses nearby sway in the wind, silently moving to an inaudible melody. I realize fully the sun's effect on everything, whether visible or not. The evidence is undeniable. It is so quiet now. Time and space is not a factor right now. There is a dimension of spirit here. I am one with my surroundings. I feel like I am in the midst of a parable. What is my Creator saying to me? There is no one here, no one else here, so He has to be speaking to me. The water is my life, moving in and out, past and future. The shoreline is my purpose. It is immovable. I see the land's edge as my threshold of discovery, and yet I hesitate and proceed to go back and forth, never going beyond the brim. I tell myself to listen. No, it is He who says, "Be still and know I am God." He's telling me to listen. The sounds are from other living entities doing exactly what they are made to do. The water and the trees do not hesitate their motion. The fowl and the bees, they accomplish their design without faltering. I am the one needing subsequent guidance. Like the seed finding the sufficient soil to transform into life and to bloom amidst the stones, truth will survive and change its surroundings. The circumstances in the world may be rocky, but the essence of integrity and love will always remain alive. I must be about sowing the seeds of truth. Like the fish that could have remained unseen, I must allow my presence to be known. While mindful of my earthly surroundings, I have the awareness of my own energy shifting into a different power. The change is marvelous. I feel empowered. I understand that it is safe to proceed through my purpose. This is the beginning of a new journey. Jesus is the Son, and the evidence proves that following His example affects everything, visible or invisible. Remaining in the light of love will dispel any shadows or doubts. and the world will transform and be colored in a brilliant array. The Holy Spirit's like the fog. All things appear differently when its presence unfolds and is invited into the crevices of our life. I surely see things differently, and I know that I too am moving to an inaudible melody. The stillness of my heart is serenity. 646-200-4169. That was my revelation when I was trying to decide what was my purpose on this planet. I do have a caller, area code 919. You're on the air. Who do I have?
My name is Angela.
Hi, Angela.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How about yourself?
I'm great. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was very, very heartfelt and beautiful. But I guess my question to you is what did you find your purpose to be?
Well, I actually also have my purpose statement, and we have one of the tools on our website. If you go to whyagain.com and go to download worksheets, you have to scroll on down because there's a lot of worksheets out there, and the first ones are all the reality management, the forgiveness worksheet. But there is a tool that's called Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, and it's a 3-part, and we always tell people to work on it for, even 6 months until they get it, like, fine-tuned. But it walks you through, you first look at 10 things that you have a gift for. Then you look at 10 things that you enjoy doing. And then you describe what the perfect world would be. Not, that we have servants and have all kinds of money and stuff, but how the perfect world would be. Like for me, it was that the planet would shift toward love and truth and harmony as God created it. And so then you go back and you start matching the things you have a gift for with the things you like to do. And you say, okay, I'm now going to use my skill of this to do this to create this world. And so I've worked on this. This actually took me a couple of years. And so this is like, it was very rough to start with. But here is my purpose statement. I now use my love for learning to search for truth, and then use my teaching skills to share my understanding with those whose paths I cross. I now use my organizational, administrative abilities to serve God and not man. Whether I listen or speak, work or play, wherever I go on this earth, whatever relationships are created, I will stay committed, fully aware, responsible, and connected to God. I will radiate the love in me to be a clear voice to my calling, so that my life produces a longing in others to follow in the way of truth, to live for God, and to likewise make a difference, to have such an impact on this planet that we will create the shift toward love and truth and harmony as God originally created us to live. So do I do that perfectly? No. I wish I did. But that is what I came up with as my purpose statement. So once you get that down pat, then what you do is every decision you make, whether it's a trip you're going to take or whether it's a job you're going to take or a person you're going to speak to, whatever it is, you ask yourself, is my doing this in alignment with my purpose? If it supports your purpose, you do it. If it does not support your purpose, even though there's nothing wrong with whatever it is, if it doesn't support your purpose, you don't do it. And what that does is it puts you in alignment. It's kind of like, used to they had antennas on top of houses. They don't have that now, but depending on how it was turned, the alignment of it is how you got channels. So if it was tuned one way, you might get channel 2 perfectly clearly or whatever. If it was turned another way, channel 2 went just like fuzz, and you couldn't make anything out of it. And so when we are in alignment, we perfectly bring in the love that we are and show it to the world. But when we're not in alignment, then everything that we do comes across fuzzy, and people are not getting the clear picture. And so that helps you to decide, when you do things. It makes decisions, behaviors, goal setting. Everything becomes easier because you look at it, okay, does it follow my purpose? So, and it's a process. I mean, I am far from being there yet. That is where I want to be. And, it's a process, and we have to remove everything unlike our being, unlike love, in order to get in.
What were you seeking for at the time before your revelation?
I've been raised totally different from this work, and so not knowing, it was like I was real involved in the church that I was in, and I was doing everything from singing in the choir to working with the children. I was church clerk. I was involved in everything.
Right.
And I went through a divorce, and everything was still the same. Everybody, it was totally perfect and totally fine. When I started dating again, it was like I had a big red A stamped on my forehead.
Right.
And people at the church pulled away from me like I was something horrible. I was the same person.
Right.
And so I started questioning, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Do I believe what I say I believe because I really believe it, or because I've been told for 40-odd years, this is what you believe? And so I was seeking truth for myself, and I was trying to find, what am I doing here? Job-wise, life-wise, my whole life had totally changed, and it was like, what do I really want? Where am I looking? Where am I going? What's the purpose in my life? I'm not just a blob of clay moving through this planet. I have a purpose for being on this planet. What is it? And I just wanted to have more meaning in my life.
I look at it
a person in the chat room just put, you were searching for your soul.
Right. I look at it as a collective. We're all a collective. So me searching today found you. That's
Absolutely.
what I was doing. I was searching the net, so I found you. But as well as knowing that there are other people like me, like you, that radiate the same energy, in fact, infallible, that it's true.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
Yep,
So
there's no
coincidence. Right, no, there aren't. Paths cross because, sometimes we get binged off track, but
right.
we still have the ultimate straight path, but sometimes we get bounced around from, life situations.
Right.
And your life situation was your trauma from your divorce,
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the GPS system in our car, when we're traveling on the road.
Exactly.
It picks the path, that's the more direct, the quickest path from point A to point B. And sometimes we get off that path, and when we do, it'll say, turn around, do a U-turn or whatever.
Right.
And after 2 or 3 times telling us to do a U-turn, it doesn't jump off the dashboard and beat us or anything, but it'll finally say, okay, rerouting, and it'll find the next best way to get us back on track.
Straight. That's right. That's
but
straight and narrow road.
It's our option which way we want to go. We have free will.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a guidance out there that if we listen, we have the spiritual faculty of intuition. And if we listen, all the information we need is out there. People were talking, this actually came up, we're doing an intensive here at Heartland, and this actually came up during one of the sessions, and somebody said, well, what about the person that stepped out, and got hit by a car? If they had been listening, they would have gotten the information, step back, or whatever. We were talking about a lot of people, our words tell our mind and the universe what to present to us.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people carry power phrases like, that just kills me,
mm-hmm.
or I can't stomach that, or, whatever. And those power phrases, when they become the predominant energy in their field, they'll manifest it.
Absolutely.
And so what you were talking about, us each being linked, we absolutely are. There's a show that I was visiting my son last month, and he had me watch it with him, and it was phenomenal. It's called Touch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a series,
mm-hmm.
and it's perfect. I mean, the little boy can see how everybody is connected, and that, you know, what you do affects what I do, and then if I do what I'm supposed to do, then something else is going to happen, and if that person does it, then, and it just goes on around. And so this little boy's purpose is to see that everybody does or is placed where they need to be at the appropriate time, so that the best result happens at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they have to really finagle and do some things for that to come about. But, you know, it's like he can see ahead of time how we're all connected. We are all one. It's like cells in a body. You know, we have gazillion cells in our body, but we're all one. And each cell does something different. Each cell has a different purpose. You know, where they say that if you could take your fingernail cell and take a liver cell, that the DNA and everything is identical.
Right.
But they each have a different purpose. So they're the same, but they're doing something different.
I think people miss opportunity in purposes. You know, the opportunities that come out of purpose. Like right now, you know, you and I have a choice to either continue to talk to each other further or end it right here.
Yes.
But we don't know what. No one's thinking about what could be the possible infinite possibilities that could come out of it, you know.
Right.
It's either going to shorten your road or it's going to lengthen it, you know what I mean? We're
Right.
either going to bounce off of one another, but we can choose, you know.
And we can choose for it to be a blessing, or we can choose to be an upset. You know, we all have choices every day. And that's one of the things that in the worksheet that earlier in the show I was walking a lady through a worksheet, and we can choose, you know, okay, I'm in, my fear has come up over a certain situation. It's not always easy, but I can choose to stay in my fear, or I can choose to let it go and do something differently. We walk people through this, it's just a little exercise. We'll tell them to close their eyes, and we'll say, you know, think or experience fear. And then we'll say, okay, now let that go. And then we'll walk them through, you know, maybe anger, and let that go. And then we'll walk them through sadness and let that go. And anyway, at the end of the exercise, we're like, how did you move from feeling to feeling?
Right.
And everybody says, you know, I had to think a thought, you know, thought of something in the past or whatever. And so that shows us that it's our thoughts that drives our feelings. Our feelings are sort of the fire alarm on the wall. You know, it's going off, which means there's smoke somewhere. If you cut the wires and make the fire alarm shut up, it doesn't make the smoke go away. You've got to get in and find out the cause underneath. And our feelings are that. Our feelings are our fire alarm, and they let us know when our creation is off base.
Right.
And so, you know, just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to think happy thoughts or whatever, that doesn't get underneath and say, okay, what was causing that feeling of sadness or that feeling of fear? And I need to go underneath and remove that, or it's continual. It's going to happen again and again.
Right. Well, because a lot of people think that, you know, bad things that happen are such a bad thing when they're not. You can always put something good even in bad. You can always shed the light on the dark. Say, for example, you're running late, you know, you go to work and you're running late and you're all in a huff and a puff, and, you know, you stop at a certain store and you say, oh, I can't stop today because I'm running late. But 2 minutes up ahead, you see it. There's an accident.
Exactly.
And had you not been running late, you might have been involved in that accident.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, you know. It's all your perception of it, you know, and like you said, in your thought process, you know, on how you look at things.
Right. We always have our own reality between our ears. There's an actuality going on in the real world, and then we each have a different reality between our ears on it. It made me think of an example that last year when Michael and I went on the road, and we were getting ready to leave. I mean, we had everything packed. The car was loaded. We were ready to pull out of the driveway. The last thing that we had to do was to drain the water tank because we were going to be gone all winter, and we didn't want it, you know, we wanted it to stay safe and not freeze. And so we had done the pipes on the toilets, and we were blowing out the water heater. Well, the water came back up through the pipes, and all 3 bathrooms just overflowed with water. So here we are, we were ready to leave, and now we're mopping up water. However, when we finally got out of here and got on down the road, about 2 hours drive down the road, there was a farmer. I mean, it was out in the middle of the country, nowhere. I mean, the cell phones didn't work. The neighbors were like 2 miles apart.
Right.
And this man had a field fire, and it was going towards his house. And he was all alone. And so Michael and I stopped and got out and helped him for a couple of hours to put out that fire. If we had not had the water situation that made us late leaving, we would have been long gone before the fire ever started.
Right. And he could have lost everything.
Right. So it's, there's a reason for everything. Now, sometimes, yes, we do things, we make choices, and then the things that happen are consequences of our choices.
Absolutely.
But, it's always our choice when something happens to, stay in our hostility and fear or go back to our being. And what we always say is, if someone holds a newborn baby and describes the essence of it, it always comes back as, like wonderful, miracle, amazing, awesome, those kind of words. That is who we are. And we've lost that oftentimes underneath the fears and the hostilities and the guilts and the shames. And so it's time to get back to that being. And that's what we're on this show for. That's what we're here to support people in doing. And I'm really glad you called in, Angela. Thank you.
I'm glad I did, too. I'm glad I did. I'll tune in again.
What part of the country are you in?
I'm in the South. I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, okay. We have a couple of people actually here during the intensives this week that are from, one's from Greensboro and the other one is from Asheville.
Yeah, I'm actually in Durham.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, we're here Monday through Friday, same time. You tune in anytime, and if you get an opportunity to try out the worksheets and then call us back, let us know how it goes. If you have any questions or comments on it, we'd love to hear back from you.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Our calling number is 646-200-4169. We're down to about 4 minutes. If you have a question or a comment or you're on the switchboard, press 1. That'll put you in queue. And Peacemaker's telling me in the chat room we taught ourselves to hold back. Yeah, it's the thumbprints that are put on us that, okay, I have to do certain things. Walking on eggshells, he says. Be glad that we have these feelings. They bring us to awareness. Yes, if their feelings are definitely our alert system letting us know if our creation is on track, if it's on purpose, or if it's off target and we need to make some readjustment. Peacemaker says, don't be afraid to be creative, allowing new feelings to present themselves. It takes failures to find perfection. It often does. I don't think it always has to take a failure, but oftentimes, I know in my own life, sometimes the lessons that I have learned best are the ones that I have, or at least the ones that stick with me that I remember, are the ones that I learned the hard way. But, we don't have to do that. We don't have to stick our hand on the stovetop to find out that it's hot. But oftentimes that's what it takes to get our attention, to make us be more aware. But we do have our intuition, true perception, choice, intuitive, let's see, what's the other? Imagination and will. Those are the 5 smooth stones that Michael speaks of that are our spiritual faculties. And it's with those stones that we can conquer the Goliath that's in our life. And that's, we always list on the board over on one side, we list the descriptors of the newborn. On the other side of the board, we'll list what people have experienced, what feeling they felt when they did something they regretted. And those feelings always come out as shame or rage or guilt or lust or different things. And those 2 lists are never the same. And so it's how do we move? Those are things we've done and experienced. It's not who we are. The descriptors of that newborn is still our very essence and who we are. The others are just things that we've done. And it's how do we remove those back out of our life and get back to the point of being who we were created to be. And that's what our work here is about. Go to whyagain.com. That's WHYAGAIN.com, soon to be whyagain.org. And go to download worksheets. Besides the worksheets out there, there are also MP3s that walk people through doing the worksheets, so you can listen to those, and it will direct you on how to move through a worksheet. And then if you have questions, please call in with those questions. We're here to support you Monday through Friday, same time, 12 o'clock Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And we're here to answer your questions, to help you, to listen to your comments. And we appreciate you being with us. We want to thank you. We hope that you have the best year yet of your eternal life. Bring a stranger tomorrow and join us on the show. And I hope you have a good night.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce.